Hello, this is Daniela, and I'm going to be talking today about the PHP filter input function. So the PHP filter input function, it's a function that helps us discard inputs that are not valid. And I like to show this image because if you think about a filter, it kind of retains anything that we don't want. So in this case, it helps us retain things that we don't want in our code or in our output. So the filter input function, it gets a variable, an external variable, for example, from a form, and it optionally filters the external variable, and it can also validate the external variable from insecure sources. So basically, it gets the external variable, and then it filters that external variable based on some parameters that we specify. So, for example, the syntax for the filter input function, we start by saying filter underscore input, and the four parameters inside of that function are the type, the input type, the variable name, the filter, and the options. So as I was saying before, when we talk about an external variable, which would be the variable here, and then the input type is how we get that external variable. And we also talked about a filter and options. Now, the type and variable are parameters that are required, meaning that we must have them in order for the function to work, but the filter and the options are not required. So here is a table that I got from W3 Schools, and it mentions a few of the input types that we can use as part of the function, depending on where we're getting that external variable from. We also have the variable, which is the name of the variable, what we are filtering, in other words. And then we have the filter, and the default filter is filter underscore default, and that results in no filtering. And there are other kinds of filters that we can use. And there's also the options, and this specifies one or more flags options to use. I don't understand that very well, but I hope that as we go through the video, you'll be able to see and to understand at least what the type of variable and filter are. So I have a really good example. Well, W3 Schools has a good example about how to use this filter input function. So here they've just created a form. They gave a name, email, to their variable email, and then they use the filter input function to validate that email. So for example, if I type a@b.c, it's going to tell me that the email is valid based on the function they've used to validate that. But if I just type A, B, and C, it's going to tell me that the email is not valid. So that's what one of the things the filter input function does. So again, we have the external variable, we have the input type, we're getting it from the form, and then we're validating the email. But there are also other examples. One of them that I found is that you can simplify your code by using a filter input function. So for example, here, instead of using if, else, if statements, you can use a filter input function that's going to do the same thing. So that's something to keep in mind. And again, they specify the input type and the variable name. And finally, another example from php.net. Here they specify the type of input. They also declared, or they specified the name of the variable, which is search, and they used a filter in this case, which is filter underscore sanitize underscore special underscore chars. So that's the kind of input they chose. And sorry, what these two lines of code, these two functions do, is they output something like that. So here we have the output you have search for, and then this variable that is assigned to this function. So that's the output you get. So here, for example, the filter is filter sanitized and coded, so that's why it's looking a little bit funny. But yeah, that's what the filter input function does. And just keep in mind that you need to have an external variable. You need to declare your input type, and then you can play around and see what works best for your code when it comes to filters or options. Thank you so much for watching.